What's up, guys? Today I am ranking the bosses in Dark Souls 3 from worst to best. Because there are 25 bosses, this video will be two parts. In this part, we will talk about bosses 25 to 11. The next video will be the top 10. Keep in mind this is just my opinion. Some of my choices are bound to be different from yours. I also want to say there are no terrible bosses in Dark Souls 3. Some of them are just underwhelming or gimmick bosses. From number 15 onward are all genuinely good to incredible bosses. With that being said, let's get into it. In last place, at number 25 is the Ancient Wyvern. At first, the Ancient Wyvern seems unbeatable. Then you realize it's a gimmick boss. All you have to do is run through the gauntlet of enemies and land a plunging attack on the Wyvern. The real boss is the enemy with the chain axe near the ladder. Also, I have fallen to my death many times after missing the plunging attack. Surprisingly, I landed it on my first try this time. Other than that, there is not much to say about the Wyvern. It's an underwhelming gimmick boss. Number 24 is Half-Light, the Spear of the Church. Half-Light is a PvP boss, so the quality of the boss can vary heavily depending on what type of player you go against. These days, most PvP players are scumbags using overpowered weapons. If you play offline, you will get Half-Light. Half-Light is an NPC boss, so it is not very good. There are also other enemies you have to worry about that can throw knives at you and even heal the boss. This is another obnoxious, underwhelming boss. At number 23, we have High Lord Wolnir. High Lord Wolnir is yet another gimmick boss. This time you have to hit the bracelets to damage him. If you get too close to him, there is a vague cloud that will almost instantly kill you. If you take too long to break the bracelets, he will summon skeletons. The atmosphere is really cool in this boss fight though. In the beginning there is a jump scare. This boss is also underwhelming. On my first playthrough, this boss gave me a surprising amount of trouble. I was not fast enough to break the bracelets before Wolnir could summon skeletons to gangbang me. 22 is the Cursed Rotted Great Wood. If you can believe it, the Cursed Rotted Great Wood is another gimmick boss. It is a huge tree with balls on it. You have to hit the balls and pop them to do any damage. In the beginning, there are enemies in the boss arena. You can kill them, but it does nothing to the boss. Once you pop some of its balls, it will do a butt slam which breaks the whole floor and you and the boss fall down below. The tree grows an arm that has some questionable hitboxes. The boss has a move in both phases where it does a butt slam and causes a lingering circle of damage all around the boss. During this move, you have to wait for the damage circle to go away or use ranged attacks. However, you cannot lock onto the balls, only the center of the boss, so you have to manually. This boss is not horrible, it is just underwhelming like the other bosses so far. Number 21 is Aldrich, Devourer of Gods. Aldrich is a mid-game boss and a Lord of Cinder. Aldrich is one of the worst get-off-me moves in Souls. The Rain of Arrows chases you across the whole arena, which is a remake of Ornstein and Smoug's Arena from Dark Souls 1. Other than that, he has a move that spawns a bunch of magic orbs. I do not like this type of move in any boss fight. He also shoots magic at you that can go through the pillars in the arena. At close range, he either flails around with his scythe or uses the Rain of Arrows. After letting you wail on him for a little bit, he will teleport to the furthest corner of the room from you. At half health, he covers the ground in fire that does chip damage. I am not a huge fan of Aldrich. For being called the Devourer of Gods, this should have been a much better boss fight. Not much more to say. Another underwhelming boss. Breaking into the top 20, we had the Old Demon King. The Old Demon King is one of, if not the most forgettable bosses in Dark Souls 3. This is probably because it's in one of the most forgettable areas. To be honest, I don't even remember much of the boss's moveset despite fighting it just a few days ago. I know it has some moves that are kind of BS. It spawns a circle of fire that comes back to the demon. I was able to trade with the Old Demon King for an easy victory. And number 19 is Osiros, the Consumed King. Osiros is not a good boss. The only reason I fight him is because Champion Gundyr and Nameless King are locked behind him. Osiros is the only boss to talk while fighting in Dark Souls. It gets extra points for being unique. In the first phase, his moveset is basic. He has swipes and AoE ice attacks. In the second phase of the boss fight, he gets much more BS moves. His charge attacks has almost zero wind up. It happens almost instantly. He also has a spin move that is a questionable hitbox. Osiros also shoots ice crystals that cause curse buildup similar to Seek. Overall, this boss kind of sucks. In 18th place is Champions Gravitender and Gravitender Great Wolf. This is a weird boss fight. At first, there is an NPC and some dogs. This part can be a little annoying to deal with because, well, there are dogs and an NPC. There are pillars to help take out the dogs one by one easily. The NPC is pretty easy on his own. Once he is at half health, the Great Wolf spawns in. On this playthrough, I was able to kill the NPC before the wolf even got to me. As a matter of fact, this was the first time I fought this boss, and I beat it on my first try. I found the wolf to be very annoying to deal with even on its own. It was my first time, so I probably just needed to learn the timings, or maybe I just suck at dodging. Anyway, mid-boss. Number 17 is Ihrim the Giant. Ihrim is a gimmick boss. This time, you have to use a certain weapon to deal any decent amount of damage. Of course, it is possible to beat Ihrim without the gimmick weapon, but it will take a really long time. The weapon, the Storm Ruler, is found at the end of the boss arena. New players may not know where the weapon is or how to use or even use it at all. You have to hold down the left trigger until the sword glows, then press the right trigger while in the stance. The arena is pretty ugly. Dark Souls 3 is a very gray, drab game, and it really shows in this boss arena. There is not much to say about Ihrim because everybody uses the same weapon against him. Very underwhelming boss for Lord Cinder. Number 16 is Deacons of the Deep. I have a soft spot for the Deacons. It is a fun boss fight in my opinion, but I couldn't give it a very high spot because it's just a group of enemies. It's fun to slice through the crowd and kill the possessed Deacon. Alluring skulls are useful, but you probably won't need them because it is such an easy boss. On my first playthrough, I actually died because of curse. At half health, there is one Deacon that is attached to the health bar for the rest of the fight, and he has a group of bodyguards with him. You have to circle around the horde to get an open shot at the possessed guy. Big weapons are great at this fight to hit a bunch of enemies at once. Other than that, I don't have much to say about this boss fight. Now we're in the top 15. As I mentioned earlier, these are all great bosses from now on. At number 15 is Eudex Gundyr. Eudex is the tutorial boss. He may be a little too challenging for new players because they don't have a grasp on the combat yet. For returning players, he is a fun boss to start the game. He can be parried if you want to. The first phase is a duel with a knight. Then at half health, he transforms into an abyss monster. This type of monster is called the Pussive Man. He sprouts an abyssal growth out of his arm. The fight is much messier in this phase. He can be cheesed with the starting gift Black Firebombs or the Pyromancer's Fireballs. Overall, it's a good start to the best Souls boss roster. In 14th place is Crystal Sage. The Crystal Sage is an early game boss. It is a mage boss as you would expect from the name. In the first phase, it is a simple sorcerer that can teleport. At half health, it turns into Fool's Idol from Demon Souls. More sages spawn. The way to tell the difference is the color of their magic. The fake sage's magic is blue, while the real one's magic is purple. The fakes die in one hit. There is some cover to block attacks from the several mages. You can parry the mage's melee attacks. Overall, this is one of the more forgettable bosses in Dark Souls 3. 13 is Vord of the Boreal Valley. Vord is the first intended boss after the tutorial. New players will find him much easier than Eudex because they understand the combat better. Vord has basic attacks with his hammer in the first phase. Once Vord reaches half health, he gains a charge attack and frostbite. The charge may be difficult for new players. The attack where he shoots frost at you may be hard for new players. They don't know what frostbite does if they haven't looked it up or been told already. Frostbite slows down your stamina regeneration. If a new player runs out of stamina and Vord's hammer is swinging right at his face, chances are they're going to die because their stamina won't regenerate in time to dodge. The other thing about the frost attack is that there is a window for a charge heavy to the face which will stagger him. You can riposte him for massive damage. Vord of the Boreal Valley is a great early game boss. Number 12 is Pontiff Suliban. Pontiff is the mid-game skill check. Pontiff is a very tough boss. His combos are almost endless, kind of like an Elden Ring boss. There is an opening when he turns around though. I sound like a broken record, but the boss fight changes at half health. Almost every boss in Dark Souls 3 has a second phase. This time Pontiff summons a purple shade of himself. The shade attacks you, then Pontiff mimics the shade's move right after. If you do a lot of damage, you can kill the shade while Pontiff is summoning him. It is also worth mentioning you can parry Pontiff. This fight becomes a lot easier with parrying. Pontiff Suliban is similar to Ornstein and Smough from Dark Souls 1 because it's the mid-game challenge. Finally, number 11 is Dancer of the Boreal Valley. This was extremely close between the Dancer and Abyss Watchers. The Dancer can be fought right at the beginning of the game if you kill Emma. But you probably don't want to do that because the Dancer is very difficult at that level. The lowest I have fought her at is level 30 with a +4 weapon. No wonder she is called the Dancer because she moves very elegantly. She swings her swords as if she is dancing. This boss can be kind of forgettable because if you fight her after beating all 3 lords like you are supposed to, she is kind of squishy. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Next, I will make part 2 of the boss ranking, which will be the top 10. After that, I will maybe make an Elden Ring video or 2 before ranking the Dark Souls 3 bosses from easiest to hardest. Then I will be back to Elden Ring. Anyways, thanks for watching. See ya.